Tell you about All Family Pharmacy, a company makes it easy to stay prepared and keep your household healthy. Please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/bill, order online. A licensed physician reviews it. Once approved, your medication ships right to your door, fast and secure. Whether you need ivermectin, antibiotics, or everyday maintenance meds, they've got you covered, all from the comfort of your home. And right now, you can save 10% with code BILL10 at checkout. So take care of yourself and your family this holiday season. Please visit allfamilypharmacy.com/bill. Use code BILL10 to stay healthy and ready.
Looking for insurance you can truly trust? Since 1986, Bauer Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses across Missouri and Illinois. Owner Cindy Blanton doesn't just offer one quote. She shops all the top carriers like Progressive, Travelers, Safeco, and more to find you the best rates. Whether it's your home, auto, toys, or business, we've got you covered. Visit us at Mid-Rivers Mall in St. Peters or call 636-812-2001. Bauer Insurance Agency, the company that protects, the name you can trust.
Hey, how you doing? Santa Vic here.
And Santa's head Vic head here.
And you can win some great prizes with News Talk STL's St. Louis Conservative Christmas.
You forgot the ho-ho-ho. You forgot the ho-ho-ho.
Oh.
No, ho.
Oh.
Log on to newstalkstl.com for your chance to win great prizes from Havana 1961 Restaurant, Trolley Stop Bakery, and Whistle Pig Outdoors. newstalkstl.com.
Oh.
Now, the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 15 years ago tonight, a famous broadcaster signed off for the last time. His final program entered a 6-decade career that featured more than 60,000 interviews. Here is the story of Larry King. Born Lawrence Ziegler in 1933, young Larry spent his childhood in Brownsville, Brooklyn. He began his career in 1957 delivering the news in Miami. As a rising star, Larry's manager suggested he change his name. According to the executive, Ziegler was, quote, too German, too Jewish, and not suitable for show business. So the two settled on King after seeing a newspaper ad for King's wholesale liquor store. In 1978, the broadcaster launched the Larry King Show, a nightly coast-to-coast radio program featuring interviews with local celebrities. Larry King Live debuted on CNN in 1985. Show hosted a wide range of guests, from politicians to UFO people to psychics. Unlike most interviews, King had a direct, non-confrontational style. His reputation for asking easy questions made him attractive to figures who wanted to state their positions while avoiding being challenged. In 2010, Larry King announced his retirement. On December 16th, King said goodbye.
I'm going to be seen in other places, do some radio work, be around baseball. So you're not going to see me go away, but you're not going to see me here on this set anymore. I don't know what to say except to you, my audience. Thank you. And instead of goodbye, how about so long?
In January 2021, Larry King died from complications related to COVID. He was 87 years old. And here's something else you might not know. Larry King Live was the most popular primetime news program for more than a decade. He lost that title in the first quarter of 2001 to a program named The O'Reilly Factor. Back in a moment. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or have no warranty, listen up. Car Shield is a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan. It's now available to the public. You can save out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Please call Car Shield now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. 800-881-0365 for a free quote. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. So please call for your free quote, 800-881-0365, 800-881-0365. Hey, what do you have to lose? 800-881-0365. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The U.S. has agreed to provide unspecified security guarantees to Ukraine as part of a peace deal to end Russia's nearly 4-year war.
Friedrich Merz isn't alone in offering relatively upbeat remarks. President Trump suggested he thought the chance of a deal was closer now than ever. There does appear to have been progress on potential security guarantees for Ukraine. Tonight, European leaders outlined plans for a legally binding commitment to help restore peace in Ukraine in the event of a future attack. A European-led multinational force could assist Ukraine in securing its seas and skies. The US would lead on monitoring any ceasefire. But the question of territorial concessions remains unresolved, an issue Ukraine's President Zelensky described as painful.
The BBC's Jessica Parker. The Republican-led House will not vote on a measure extending Obamacare-enhanced subsidies that expire in 2 weeks. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Speaker Mike Johnson said efforts were made to hold the vote, but it didn't work out in the end.
We looked for a way to try to allow for that pressure release valve, and it just was not to be. We worked on it all the way through the weekend, in fact.
Johnson's announcement infuriated moderate Republicans who had been pushing to go on the record about the subsidies. The speaker acknowledged that about a dozen GOP members in competitive districts are fighting hard to make sure that they reduce costs for all of their constituents. Greg Clugston, Washington.
President Donald Trump is going to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware for a dignified transfer for the 2 Iowa National Guard members killed in an attack in the Syrian desert. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 302 points, the Nasdaq rose 54, the S&P declined 16. More at townhall.com.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance, even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote by calling Term Provider at 800-555-2085. 800-555-2085. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-555-2085 or visit termprovider.com. Term Provider.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another cool night, milder afternoon, 37 for the low, 55 Wednesday afternoon, and mostly sunny skies. A nice day and above normal by about 10 degrees. Thursday's a day of change, though. Milder in the morning in the 50s, falling into the 40s in the afternoon, then 30s by the evening. And that cold front does look to bring us some rain, mainly in the morning to around lunchtime. Dry for the rest of the afternoon and evening, but expect some wet weather for the first half of Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
We greatly look forward to President Trump addressing the nation tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern. I hope your audience will tune in, and Americans across the country will tune in to hear from their president as well about the historic accomplishments that he has garnered for our country over the past year. If you look at the security of our border, if you look at stopping Joe Biden's inflation right in its tracks, bringing down gas prices to the lowest level in 5 years, President Trump will be talking about what's to come. The best is truly yet to come, as he often says. And so he'll be addressing the country about all of his historic accomplishments over the past year, and maybe teasing some policy that will be coming in the new year as well as we head into this Christmas season.
Well, there you have it. A week and a day before the high holy day of Christmas, Donald Trump will use the Oval Office bully pulpit to address the nation on all of those issues and so much more. We also have an update on many of the horrific and very tragic stories from the weekend. There's about to be a press conference on the bizarre Brown University shooting. We have learned today that Nick Reiner, son of Rob Reiner, has, yes, indeed been charged with murder, and some very strange circumstantial issues came out on that case, released by some of the investigators. And last but not least, Chris, we have a report that the Bondi Beach attack in Australia was indeed inspired by the Islamic State.
No way.
Shocker.
What detective work that was.
Not just anti-Semitism, but anti-Semitism from a particular group of theocrats is, of course, the ISIS Islamic State. Welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Busy Tuesday.
Very busy Tuesday. And unfortunately, the Prime Minister of Australia does what most liberals do. Instead of addressing the crime problem in general that they have, and it's probably not as bad as here in the United States, they want to focus on the gun instead of the Islamic terrorist Muslims that committed this horrific act. Regarding President Trump's speech tomorrow, I hope he addresses these two things, but I'm not holding my breath. One, I would love to readdress his Truth Social post on Rob Reiner. And I hope that the president puts out a plan for healthcare, one that can rally all of the Republicans together and put something on the table so that they can counter this onslaught narrative that's coming at the end of the year when the Democrats say that Republicans are taking people's health care away from them.
I'm glad to see that the Obama healthcare super subsidies are going to expire as I predicted. However, I agree with you. The Republicans need to do something. I wish government wasn't involved in healthcare, but the Democrats, like with everything they do, they create a crisis. And then when that proposal of theirs fails, like Obamacare has, then they blame everybody but themselves, most notably Republicans, and say they have to fix it. Republicans have a lot of health care plans. They need to, and proposals. They need to circle the wagons around one, come up with a very catchy phrase for it to capture the attention of all Americans, and then move it forward. Or they'll get beat over the head by the media that they don't have a health care plan heading into 2026.
Yeah, what they have to address first and foremost is these subsidies and these folks that are going to be losing their health care. The president had a good plan where he wanted to take that money that was going to the insurance companies and giving that money directly to those people as health savings accounts so they can pay for it themselves. That, of course, is something that the majority caucus, Republican caucus, is not in favor of. The moderates want to add an amendment to a health care bill that the speaker was going to put out on the floor regarding health care. We learned today that there will not be a bill being put out. So it's going to be a very interesting next couple of weeks, especially heading into the new year with these Obamacare subsidies expiring.
Medicare and not Medicaid, Medicare and HSAs and FSAs are very successful products, and they have at their core free market principles. That's why the media, the left, and Democrats hate them. I think Republicans should put those on steroids, make a package, come up with a plan, and use those free market principles if we're going to do anything with government healthcare, with government getting further involved in healthcare. And yeah, make that the cornerstone of your policy. All of those items I mentioned, people love. There was a recent survey done by a nonpartisan healthcare group. 80% of Americans, so this is an 80% issue, 80% of Americans said they would rather have more control over their healthcare choices than being forced to choose things pursuant to a government-run plan.
Yeah, they've got to put something on the table because they're going to get bludgeoned by Democrats on not having a plan. And the plan that they have put out doesn't address the issue that Democrats are going to beat them over the head with, and that is the subsidies for these Obamacare pandemic subsidies. I don't agree with them. I believe that they should have been phased out after the pandemic, but they are there. And I think that if you want to try to make a case that let's means test these pandemic subsidies so people making $400,000 aren't eligible for them, if you want to make the case that instead of people paying $0 for these pandemic subsidies, they have to pay $25, $50, something, I think that they could sell that to the moderates. I think they could sell that to the American people, and they would have an alternative plan to what the Democrats are offering. But offering nothing is not a good plan, and I think Republicans are going to suffer for that next year, possibly in the midterm elections.
Yeah, except I also think they have to continue to make the case that government should not be involved in healthcare.
Tim, I understand that from a philosophical point, but if you look at the polls, the American people want Obamacare.
No, they don't.
I've got a poll that says the 57%.
I have a poll that says 80% of Americans want more choice in healthcare and want government out of it. Depends on how you ask the question.
They want more choice, but if you ask the question, do you support Obamacare in period? I think the American people support that. It needs to be reformed. But once you give somebody a right, and these Democrats have made this a right, it's hard to take something away from people.
You can't keep going down that road, though, Chris. That's a stupid road to go down, to keep saying, let's put more and more government into things. Chris, we ran here in Missouri 15 years straight against Obamacare. You know what happened? More and more Republicans won every single year. Obamacare is only popular if you're a big government uniparty type person with that philosophy. It's not popular amongst most Americans. It depends on how you say it. If you say, hey, do you want more free stuff? Let's have the government give you more free stuff. Of course, people are going to say yes. Yeah. The polling is all in how you ask the question. If you ask people, do you want more choice in your healthcare? Would you rather have less government in healthcare? Guess what? People say yes to that too. So I don't think you can just look at the poll and say, well, everybody loves Obamacare. I don't believe that's true at all.
We'll see this November.
Yeah. Well, next November.
Next November.
Obamacare. If you ask the question, do you like Obamacare? Most Americans will say no. Majority of Americans will say no to that. Chris, only 27 million Americans are on Obamacare. That's less than 10% of the population. How can you say all of America loves Obamacare when only 27 million people are on it?
Because I see polls that say that people that may not be on Obamacare like the fact that people that can't afford insurance have some type of insurance, even though it's not very good insurance.
Well, then that's a failure of promoting conservatism then. And we have to do a better job of doing that, because you said, people say, the media says, the left-leaning media says, the uniparty says, the Democratic swamp says, conservatism says Obamacare is bad and Obamacare subsidies need to expire. Jim Talent agrees with that. Grover Norquist agrees with that. All the great conservative thinkers and soothsayers say Obamacare is a bad plan. It's failed. and we need to let it go away, which is why the subsidies are expiring. They're done. They're over. The super subsidies. Obamacare was a giant giveaway to the insurance companies, and we should not continue to defend it. It's bad public policy.
Okay.
All right. We've got a big show here this afternoon. We're going to boil things back down to the local level. We're going to talk to David Stokes. He's Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. A historic Black community in Westland Acres is trying to sell more than 120 acres for development. We'll ask David Stokes what he thinks about that plan. And a city audit. You're not going to be surprised by this. A city audit found missing documents, unapproved contracts, and unusually high mowing costs, I guess they mean lawn mowing, in a St. Louis City neighborhood cleanup program funded with pandemic aid. We'll also talk Metrolink and so much more. Lots to get to with David Stokes at 4:25. At 4:45, we'll, of course, have the daily feature of Chris's Corner.
Yes, Chris's Corner today. Susan Wiles, she is the chief of staff for President Trump, did a interview with the Vanity Fair, 11 interviews over a couple of months. It did not turn out well, and I'm going to say why I'm careful with reporters and why Susan Wiles should have known better than to do an interview with the Vanity Fair.
I agree with you on that. Vanity Fair, for the love of God. Super uber left progressive publication. 5:07, the Speaker's stump speech. I'm going to be out for a few days. I will be back on Christmas Eve hosting the Vic Porcelli Show with the great Ken Williams. But because I'm going to be out of this show for a few days, I thought I'd do something now that I usually do right before Christmas. And that would be, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. That'll be at 5:07. At 5:25, we have a brand new guest to the show. People are skeptical when they hear downtown St. Louis is turning around. But a fellow by the name of Alex Oliver has proof that that is happening on Washington Avenue. How many times have we redeveloped Washington Avenue? This is like the third or fourth go around, I think. Maybe this time it'll stick. I don't know.
I think the problem in Washington Avenue, it's very beautiful. I have a friend that has a loft down there. There are businesses there. It's a lot of people are there on the weekends. It's just been overrun with kids on the weekends who are renting these Airbnbs for a night and just wreaking havoc on the downtown streets. I mean, it was so bad at one time that they closed Washington Avenue off to try to keep the kids from overrunning it. I mean, it's a beautiful development. It's something that St. Louis needs. They just need to control the crime and the kids that are down there, and I think it could grow and prosper.
My sister Amy was married on Washington Avenue to my brother-in-law Mark. Windows on Washington.
Yeah, I've been to many weddings there.
I don't know if that's still open.
I don't think it is.
And I don't think it is, which is another sad memento of times gone by. In our lifetime, I think they've redeveloped Washington Avenue at least twice, if not three times. It is a great stretch of real estate. It's had some incredible restaurants, but it with everything that's happened downtown that we talked with David Stokes about every single week, the people have fled Washington Avenue once again. So
I don't blame them.
I don't either. The CEO of Oliver Properties, Alex Oliver, he's got a brand new approach. He's going to try to do everything he can to rebuild the city. I love hearing these stories of people that they're not giving up on the city of St. Louis. They are going to try again, and maybe he will have greater success. Oh, by the way, this is not a government-led proposal by Mr. Oliver. It's a pilot program, and he believes it will attract more investment to this much-needed blighted area. If there's a blighted area, this is it indeed. 5:45, we'll have a lot of other interesting information, news, and notes of things that we may not have quite gotten to that you need to know. Chris, what types of things are we going to discuss with the folks at 5:45?
We're going to talk about President Biden's potential presidential library and how it is not doing so well when it comes to the funding. We'll have more on that at 5:45.
Biden's library. Does he know he's doing a library?
Probably not.
And then we will, of course, hand you off to Larry Connor's USA. It is Tuesday, but we're heading rapidly towards the holidays. People thinking about the last weekend before the Christmas season. I'm wondering if Joey is going to have a movie this Friday.
I want everyone to get prepared for this Friday's Joey V's Movies, brought to you by Harry J. Steakhouse and Ami's Pizza, because we're going to talk Knives Out 3. It's right there on Netflix. Everyone can watch it over and over and over. It's the latest in the Knives Out series. This one's called Wake Up Dead Man. I'm daring Chris to watch it in time so he can review it too.
And I just want to say, Joey, that I'm very excited and proud that Joey's Movies now has sponsors. So congratulations, my friend.
Please put some respect on the name. Joey V's Movies.
Sorry.
It ties together because it sounds similar. That's why it's such a good name. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joey, was this Knives Out in the theaters at all, or did it go straight to Netflix?
It had a very limited window. It was probably in 3 theaters in Missouri total. And I think that's so Netflix can qualify for the Oscars.
Oh.
So they know that they hate theatrical and they're trying to kill it. And if they buy Warner Brothers, maybe there'll never be movies in the theater again, but they still want an award. I wonder if the Oscars can change the rules where you have to actually put your movie in theaters for like a window, like 45 days. If you don't do the 45-day window, you don't get an Oscar. I'd love to see a rule change. This 2-week thing that Netflix does is annoying.
I'll make a deal with you. I will watch Knives Out 3. Is that the name of it? If you review a movie that Becky and I watched over the weekend, The Wrath of Becky.
Maybe. We'll see. It is on Netflix as well, and it's 3 years old, so I'm sure the listeners would love to hear about it.
Yes, if you don't like blood and guts, do not watch The Wrath of Becky. It is very, very violent.
Woo! Indeed, it is, from everything that we have been told.
And she picked it out for some reason.
Okay, well, there you have it. We want to thank everyone for coming out to the Hideout yesterday for the annual Tim Jones Young Republicans and Friends Christmas party. Chris, we had a huge crowd, I think the largest ever. Had a ton of listeners come up to me and say congratulations on being in our 5th year anniversary is in July. Love the station, love the program. So many people say they love our show. They even like Joey V, and they love all of our quick-witted news and analysis and opinions as they're heading home, and they think we all work really well together. Thank you, everybody. That was really nice of all the things that people said about the station.
Very large turnout, and I have to say what I was really encouraged about was all of the new young Republican faces that I saw. The Republican Party of Missouri is doing well, and it's growing, and it was nice seeing all of the young people out there, many faces that I didn't know.
They did a photograph of the Young Republicans near the end of the night. Our good friend John, the photographer, was there. And I was surprised as well when they called up. First we did the sponsors and the hosts, Rick Pogue and the gang and the folks at the Hideout. Then they did the Young Republicans. Yes, it was a massive crowd. That little stage we were on, it was about twice that size of people. It was really inspiring to see that the next generation is really engaged in politics and public policy here in Missouri.
Exactly. And I hate the fact that I can't remember their last names, but a new branch of the Young Republicans is starting in Jefferson County. Marcos and Savannah. Can't remember their last names, but they are starting a branch out in Jefferson County. And that just shows even more that the Republican brand is growing among young people.
Great Americans. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Hope you have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Be safe, travel well. 4:21 in the PM. Yes, Metrolink is getting new trains. There is a historic Black community land sale, and there's audit questions regarding nonprofit spending in the city of St. Louis. David Stokes going to tackle all of that and more with us when we return here on Tuesday's edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Just like the ones I used to know.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
Glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another cool night, milder afternoon, 37 for the low, 55 Wednesday afternoon, and mostly sunny skies. A nice day and above normal by about 10 degrees. Thursday's a day of change, though. Milder in the morning in the 50s, falling into the 40s in the afternoon, then 30s by the evening. And that cold front does look to bring us some rain, mainly in the morning to around lunchtime. Dry for the rest of the afternoon and evening, but expect some wet weather for the first half of Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
News, analysis, opinion.
Donald Trump has changed things, and people trying to do what's always been done is not going to work.
Today, alongside this peace treaty, we also are signing a major trade deal.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Looking for top-rated chiropractic care? How about personal training and sports performance? Whether you're an athlete or just a weekend warrior, got the one-stop shop for you. Tim Jones here to tell you I have been a very happy and pleased patient of Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, Missouri. See chiropractic.com. Folks come from all over the region to receive the awesome services of Doctors Fader, Benton, Gorman, and so many of the other healthcare professionals they have at Comprehensive Chiropractic. How about prepare for a new you in the new year? And look, this is something that shouldn't just be a resolution that you stop doing after a few weeks. If you go to Comprehensive Chiropractic and you get into a routine, if you sign up for their classes, if you engage in the personal training program, that's something that's going to stick with you, right? Because you're going to have a partner in that. It's not just something like, oh, I'm going to go do X, and then you forget about doing X like 2 weeks later. If you have a partner, like in Comprehensive Chiropractic, you'll have someone side by side with you, helping you, first of all, recover from your pain, foundational chiropractic care. They also have lots of advanced treatment options there as well. They helped me with some horrible tendonitis I had in my elbow with some really cool stuff and gizmos. That's my technical word for those things. And I am as good as new. Personal training. They've got the Pilates and yoga classes and so much more. They also can help you with your nutritional needs. It's holistic healthcare from stem to stern. Comprehensive Chiropractic at cchiropractic.com. Want to thank them so much for their support of News Talk STL throughout these many years. Comprehensive Chiropractic, cchiropractic.com for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my favorite go-to store for seafood, gourmet goodness, and tons of wine. It's Stars, 1135 South Big Bend. A huge selection of seafood flown in from the coast. Lemon sole, halibut, Maryland lump crab, Gulf shrimp, and you got to try the trout dip. Plus, imported and domestic hand-cut cheeses, lots of hand-picked wines at great prices, hard-to-find gourmet foods, and fresh roasted coffee using only the best quality beans. Stars, 1135 South Big Bend, just off of Highway 40.
This holiday season, help Feed My People fill the shelves. News Talk STL and the STL County GOP are partnering for an annual food drive, November 10th through December 21st. Drop off your non-perishable food donations at all Bartolino's restaurants, all Chris's Pancakes and dining locations, all 3 Michael's Flooring outlets, STL Windows and Doors, or at the News Talk STL studios.
Hey, it's Susie Moore, and together we can make a difference for families in need.
Visit newstalkstl.com for complete drop-off locations. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year. I don't know if there'll be snow, but have a cup of cheer.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
And when you walk down the street, say hello to friends you know and everyone you meet.
You guys are working alongside a company who built the first Metrolink train car. How's that?
Oh my gosh. There's nothing like getting a new car, a new train, right?
Yeah.
And so we are working on that with Siemens North America, a great vendor. And remember, these are American-made trains. They're being assembled in Sacramento, California, but there's parts coming from all over the United States.
Yeah.
We're getting seats from Wisconsin. We're getting couplers from Georgia. We're getting windows from South Carolina. So the fact is, we're bringing those investments into the St. Louis area. It's a super exciting time.
427 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And Tim, I don't know about you, but that's great that a lot of the Metrolink trains are coming from all over the country. But if I don't feel safe on the Metrolink, I could care less if they built the whole damn thing here in St. Louis.
And look,
it's just my views.
Fancy and fine as it wants to, Chris. But if no one's riding on it, what different? To quote Hillary Clinton, what difference would it make?
Exactly. Let's see what our next guest thinks about that and more.
David Stokes over at the Show Me Institute. In high school, you talk about spike. I had a very short spiked. It was
I knew there's a spike somewhere in that stuff.
It wasn't very punky. It was more Leave It to Beaver-ish, maybe.
And as he does every Tuesday, David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. David, before we get into business, Joey's playing a lot of Christmas music today. Do you have a favorite Christmas song?
Yeah, and it's.
Don't sing it. Don't sing it. Just tell us.
I'm not going. It's the one. I think it's. I hear it just a few times a year, and I'm trying to remember the band that plays it. It's the one. It's like the a cappella choir. So I'd have to almost sing it for you together. It'll come to me.
I'm glad it's so memorable for you, David, that you can't remember it.
Probably pentatonic.
Very special
yeah.
to you.
I haven't haven't heard it. I haven't heard it yet this year. I do love the when the British band came together to raise money for Ethiopia. The song they put out, that was much better than much better than We Are the World. The British Christmas song was much better.
Dave, I apologize for putting you on the spot there, but let's talk about the MetroLink. Do I have a point? Do Tim and I have a point that if you don't feel safe on this thing, who cares where it's built?
Right. I found it funny that Metro is bragging about we're a modern capitalist society. What did he think was going to happen? Did he think the whole train was going to be built from parts assembled right here in St. Louis? I mean, right. It's really an odd thing to brag about. And right, if people aren't riding it and people don't feel safe on it, who cares? Channel 4 broke a story that they had a measurement error. They had to cancel and redo some of the ordering. It cost them about $1 million because they had to reorder things due to a measurement error. So even the ordering of the new trains didn't go as smoothly as it should have. But hey, the trains they have, they're old. They're buying some new trains. Other than the measurement error costing $1 million or so, I don't have any problem with them buying new trains. It's the type of thing you have to do every once in a while. But yes, bragging about parts that it was made seemed a peculiar thing.
Maybe they shouldn't have hired the Moe, Larry, and Curly engineering company to do those measurements. I don't know, Tim.
Yeah, David, light rail, the concept of light rail is great, right? If it's in a place where it makes sense and works. I know all three of us and many of our listeners have likely taken light rail in other cities where it's safer, it's faster, it's affordable, it makes sense. But those areas, David, they're much more congested. The light rail systems are, generational. And it seems like with our light rail system, they're constantly trying to shove this square peg into a round hole that just doesn't exist here in St. Louis. What say you?
It doesn't exist here. And the idea that we need to continue expanding it, there's one ongoing expansion in Illinois that makes some sense. It's, they're taking it a few miles further west to really fully connect to the airport out there. That's fine. It's much less expensive to build through cornfields and empty fields and in an urban area. But other than that, no, they should entirely focus on running the system well and safely, and then hope to get ridership up that way. They should, other than, again, this one relatively minor expansion in Illinois, they need to just drop plans of expanding it and just focus on safety and ridership here to see if they can ever get it back up to the ridership levels that they promised us many years ago. Those levels that they promised were, of course, delusional, and it will almost certainly never get to that. But till that end, just make it as safe as you can to try to have as many riders as possible. And if the Cardinals start playing better and drawing back to what they used to be, perhaps people will get back to riding it.
Speaking with David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. David, our next topic is right in your wheelhouse, and I really expect you to be there tonight. The St. Louis County Council will consider a 9% cut in spending from the county's 4 major operating funds. I want to get your thoughts on that. Plus, I want to get your thoughts on who do you think won the battle between Shalonda Webb and State Senator Angela Mosley back in September, where they had that brawl in the Bill gym there.
I'll take that first. I have no comment on that. No comment. It's obviously just insane. Like something like that happened. No comment on that video.
Okay.
In the slightest.
I guess that's fair.
As for the cuts, good for the council. I mean, I'm very happy that they've decided to address this shortfall of whatever through making cuts to it. I mean, that's excellent. Sure, there's nothing wrong with using Rams money to fix a few holes here or there, but the administration plan to count on a tax increase that voters just rejected a couple of years ago and assumed they would pass it this time, that was crazy. And I'm not even opposed to use taxes, but that was a bad plan. And using the Rams money in an enormous way, I think that wasn't the right way to go about it. Good for the county council for making tough choices and making cuts when you need to. I mean, I wish more governments would do this. So yeah, I'm all in support of the county council's plan tonight. It's They're going to apparently to have a debate over whether the county executive can veto spending bills or not. So that might end up in court. I presume that he can, but you know, if what do I know? So I'm very supportive of what the county council, St. Louis County Council, is doing, and in St. Charles, they're also introducing a very disciplined budget in response to not raising as much money as they had thought. So they're also making some cuts out in St. Charles. So good for the county levels of government in both those two counties.
And David, the county council in St. Louis is a partisan body of 4 Democrats versus 3 Republicans. But David, isn't it nice and isn't it telling when fiscal sense and sanity overrides political ambition? And on most votes recently, you have a 6-1 opposition force on the county council, 3 Democrats joining with 3 Republicans to vote against County Executive Sam Page on most of these issues, including many of these budget priorities. It sounds, David, like there's a lot of bipartisan good public policy going on there. If we only had a county executive that would be willing to, join the party and lead.
Well, that's what happens at the local government level when you have requirements for a balanced budget. It's good. It's great to see local officials, and you're so right to point out that this is Democrats and Republicans here on the council, making hard choices and not just counting on future tax increases to make up this difference. It's sometimes you have to cut the spending, sometimes you have to cut the government, and sometimes it might hurt a little bit, but you have to do it. And so very, very happy with the decision of St. Louis County here. And again, if excess Rams money, according to this plan, has to be used for a few holes here or there for some of it, that's fine. Nothing, no problem with that. But relying on it entirely, plus relying on a tax increase that very likely isn't going to happen, that seemed like a poor plan by the county executive. So definitely think the bipartisan council is moving in the right direction here.
Speaking with Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute, David C. Stokes. David, it was an interesting article over the weekend about the historic Black community is trying to sell 120 acres of land that they own. The community is called Westland Acres. They straddle Chesterfield and Wildwood, and they're having some trouble trying to get that land rezoned to sell that property. I know there are majority of the members of that community want to sell that property for quote unquote generational wealth, but there's also a few residents that want to keep that land in their family. Tell us what's going on here.
Well, it's a fascinating dispute, and it's a perfect example of why we still need zoning reform in Missouri and in St. Louis. And I've got a blog post up of this at showmeinstitute.org. Absolutely, this group, this sort of extended family, should be allowed to redevelop their property. As to the fact that apparently one part of the family doesn't want to sell, well, that's a private matter, and nobody should force them to if they don't want to. But to have the cities, in this case Wildwood, because this has been going on for decades, trying to develop this property. It's like this one hole in the whole area of new subdivisions that, for whatever reason, nobody's been able to redevelop. And some of the reason has been municipal opposition and neighbor opposition. So you've got neighbors who've gone to meetings and talked about how the city of Chesterfield should reject this redevelopment plan because they want to preserve the natural beauty of the area. And I'm reading this, and I'm like, what are you like? Your subdivision was built 10 years ago. Did that not ruin the natural beauty of the area? I mean, you just want to throw a brick through a window.
Is it a race? Is it a race issue, David? Do you think?
I hope not, and I don't necessarily think it is. I certainly hope not. Perhaps it is though. But this family, it's very interesting. There's this extended family, this African American area of Chesterfield. They should absolutely be allowed to redevelop this property like everybody else in this entire region has done over the last 20, 30, 40 years, turning Chesterfield from farmland into subdivisions and businesses. So absolutely this family should. And if the neighbors have some concerns that are legitimate, and I particularly think the water runoff issue is legitimate, that's not a reason to deny the development at all or deny the rezoning. It's simply a reason for Chesterfield and Wildwood to require that there be a plan to address water runoff because this ground is higher than the area around it. So as they pave it over for homes and streets and driveways and the like, of course, there'll be water runoff. So that should be addressed. But the rest of it, concerns about noise and traffic and natural beauty, that's just classic NIMBYism from people who only moved to the area 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And when their subdivisions did the same thing, they're now trying to prevent somebody else from doing. So it absolutely, Wildwood and Chesterfield alike absolutely need to permit this development and let this family earn the money that they deserve.
Yeah, David, you largely answered my question because I was going to ask you, like, at what topographic elevation was this? You know, were we talking about something that is potential in floodplain or floodway? But you actually said this land is higher than the area around it, which means, to your point, yes, in the modern day, we can build detention and retention areas and things of that sort, right? And so if their only complaint is, well, I don't like how it might look, that's really not a valid zoning objection in most situations, is it?
It's not. And Chesterfield has approved rezonings here before, and then the area is on the border, so both cities have to approve these plans. So Wildwood rejected it a prior attempt a decade or so ago. Just, I think, a terrible idea by Wildwood. No business doing that. Chesterfield, I don't think, is the enemy here, but hopefully they will once again approve this, and then Wildwood will approve it as well. This family, this extended family, has every right to earn the significant money that other farmers and other old families out in that area have made over the past decades. And again, if according to the article, there's one part of the family that doesn't want to sell, well then, okay, they have to figure out the plan around that family. I get it. I'm not advocating for eminent domain of that family in the slightest, or that part of the family. But for neighbors to be trying to block it to preserve, the natural beauty of the area, it's just insane. I mean, somebody would have said that about their subdivision 10 or 20 years ago. So this absolutely I hope people check out the blog post at showmeinstitute.org, which goes into the details of this and another recent zoning dispute in Des Peres, and really why we need. And I'm not somebody who's 100% throw out all zoning all the time, but we need further reforms of it to respect people's property rights. And this example of this extended family in Chesterfield is the perfect example of it.
Dave, before we let you go, give us an update on the Show Me Institute's Missouri Athletic Club event.
Well, we had a great blueprint release last week. Thank you, Chris. We had a lot of your listeners, I'm sure, attending. And the blueprint is now up at showmeinstitute.org, talking about the priorities for the next legislative session in moving forward in eliminating the state income tax, expanding school choice, and expanding nuclear power in the state of Missouri. Three huge priorities for the next legislature. That's David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute, showmeinstitute.org, and on X, David C. Stokes. David, thank you so much, my friend, and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to both of you guys. Hope to see you very soon. Thank you. 442 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Chris's Corner, why I'm careful with reporters and why Susie Wiles should have known better. That's coming up. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year. I don't know if there'll be snow, but have a cup of cheer.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL.
And when you walk down the street, say hello to friends you know and everyone you meet.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another cool night, milder afternoon, 37 for the low, 55 Wednesday afternoon, and mostly sunny skies. A nice day and above normal by about 10 degrees. Thursday's a day of change, though. Milder in the morning in the 50s, falling into the 40s in the afternoon, then 30s by the evening. And that cold front does look to bring us some rain, mainly in the morning to around lunchtime. Dry for the rest of the afternoon and evening, but expect some wet weather for the first half of Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Well, this time of the year, life speeds up, travel plans, holiday shopping, family gatherings, everything hits at once. And when things get busy, you need a bank that keeps up with your life, not a bank 2 time zones away. Royal Banks knows this community because they're rooted right here at home, delivering real community banking built on more than 60 years of serving our region. And with the holidays right around the corner, there's still time to plan your winter break getaway. Royal Banks can help make that dream vacation reality with a home equity line of credit, a flexible, convenient way to tap into your home's value and fund your holiday escape. And while the season gets hectic, Royal Banks also helps take the stress out of managing your money with easy online and mobile banking needs. You can manage your debit card, add it to your digital wallet, set account alerts, schedule bill payments, transfer funds, explore budgeting tools, and even deposit checks, all from your phone, anytime, anywhere. I've been banking with Royal Banks for over 20 years because they just don't see an account. They see your goals, your family, your future. Royal Banks has 16 locations across St. Louis, St. Charles, Illinois, even up in Northeast Missouri. They're locally owned, independently run, and committed to the communities they serve. Visit today, royalbanksofmo.com, royalbanksofmo.com to learn more. Royal Banks of Missouri, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
I remember my son was going to grow up without a father.
I didn't think someone at 23 could be diagnosed with breast cancer.
I was probably the healthiest I had been in my life.
Early detection of a melanoma saved my life.
I survived testicular cancer because of early detection.
I survived cancer not once, but twice because of early detection.
Hi, I'm Congressman Bob Onder. Early detection equals better outcomes. Learn what routine cancer screenings you need and book your doctor's appointment today.
This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Tom Shaw Realtors representing the sale and development of more than 150,000 acres. Selling, buying. Call Tom, 636-432-1922. Ask about hunting leases. ShawRealtors.com.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
Today's story behind the story, selling color televisions when most programs were black and white.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
As for the Vanity Fair article, Michael, I'll take your question directly. This is, unfortunately, another example of disingenuous reporting, where you have a reporter who took the chief of staff's words wildly out of context, did not include the context those conversations were had within. And then further, I think the most egregious part of this article was the bias of omission that was clearly present. And we see a lot of this when dealing with the media every day. You will leave out important context, leave out comments and facts. Many people in this building spoke with that reporter, and those comments were never included in the story, probably because it didn't push this false narrative of chaos and confusion.
447 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And ladies and gentlemen, that song that you just heard, that is Joey V's favorite Christmas song. Who is that, Dick and Joey?
The Ramones, Merry Christmas. I don't want to fight tonight.
That's a good song for Christmas while you're drinking your eggnog and celebrating the birth of Christ. I don't want to fight tonight. I think it's very appropriate. Tim, I learned today, had no idea Susie Wiles is the daughter of the legendary broadcaster Pat Summerall. Had no idea.
Didn't know that either.
I
Wow.
grew up with Pat Summerall because Pat always did the Dallas Cowboys games when I was growing up, and even in his career when he switched to Fox. Of course, Pat started with Tom Brookhiser at first, and then of course he teamed up with the legendary John Madden.
That's
But, wow,
amazing.
Susie Wiles is Pat Summerall's daughter. It makes me wonder: was Pat Summerall a Republican?
It begs the question, doesn't it? There's a lot of people that choose just not to let us know. Usually when you don't know, they're probably conservatives or Republicans.
I knew there was something about her that I liked. I don't know what it is. All right, Chris's Corner. Why I'm careful with reporters and why Susie Wiles should have known better.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
You know, one of the first lessons I learned in politics, and I learned it the hard way, is this: reporters are not your friends. They will sound like your friends. They'll flatter you. They'll nod. They'll empathize. They'll tell you, I just want to understand your thinking. What they really want is your words out of context, sharpened and used against you. That's why I wasn't shocked by Vanity Fair's so-called, quote, inside look at President Trump's inner circle, but I was stunned that someone as seasoned as Susie Wiles let it happen. 11 interviews on the record with Vanity Fair, that's not transparency, that's professional malpractice. Chris Whipple, he's a talented writer, I'm sure, but he's not a neutral chronicler. He's a narrative builder, and his audience isn't the White House, it's Manhattan cocktail parties. Vanity Fair, doesn't profile conservatives to understand them. It profiles them to expose them, mock them, or neutralize them. And that's exactly what happened here. Look at how this piece was constructed. Whipple didn't just report, he sifted. He took scattered remarks across hours of conversations and arranged them into a portrait designed to create tension, doubt, and internal chaos. Trump has an alcoholic's personality. Vance is a longtime conspiracy theorist. Elon Musk is microdosing. Retribution is real, just selective. None of it is framed as gossip. All of it framed as credibility. And when the story dropped, Susie Wiles suddenly realized she'd been walked into a buzzsaw, calling it, quote, a disingenuously framed hit piece. Here's the problem. That framing didn't happen after the interviews. It happened before the first question was asked. I know this because it happened to me early in my career. A reporter came across as reasonable, curious, honest. We talked. I relaxed. I thought I was explaining nuance. What ran wasn't nuance. It was a single quote, stripped of context, sharpened to fit a predetermined narrative. That's when I learned every conversation with a reporter is a transaction, not a friendship. Which brings me to something that stuck with me from the 2016 Cruz campaign. On that campaign, the press secretary recorded every interview, every press gaggle, every side conversation, not because Ted Cruz was paranoid, but because they understood how the game is played. When a reporter says, that's not what you said, you don't argue, you press play. And that discipline mattered because once your words are out there, you don't own them anymore, they do. That's why I'm genuinely surprised Susie Wiles fell into this trap. She's not new, she's not naive, she's not some staffer dazzled by proximity to power, which raises the uncomfortable question, did the glamour shots play a role? Because Vanity Fair doesn't just publish articles, it seduces. Glossy photos, access, prestige, the unspoken message, you're important enough to be featured. And that's dangerous. The moment you start talking because it feels good, because it feels validating, you've already lost control of the narrative. This wasn't a leak. This wasn't an ambush. This was voluntary overexposure. Politics is ruthless, media is ruthless, and conservative operatives of all people should know better than to believe they'll be treated fairly by a magazine that fundamentally despises what they stand for. There's a reason seasoned operatives speak carefully, briefly, and often on background, not because they have something to hide, but because they understand something most people don't. The press doesn't report power, it disciplines it. And if you give them enough rope, they will just hang you, they'll photograph it in high resolution and call it, quote unquote, insight. That's today's corner. Speak carefully, trust sparingly, and never forget who's holding the pen.
Wise words indeed. I had to learn those lessons myself.
We all do.
I screwed up, I'll admit, many times with the media. And one of my best mentors on the media is someone that also screwed up, former speaker Rod Jetton.
Yeah.
And Rod told me when I was maybe majority leader, about to be speaker, he said, Tim, I've tried to do it every way possible. I've tried to give everything to the media, kind of like what Susie Wiles did here. Now, let me say, Vanity Fair, here's the problem. She should have known better because Vanity Fair is not good. I learned that there were certain publications in Missouri, Chris, no matter what great story I had to tell them, no matter what positive news, I could have told them I found the cure for cancer and they would have turned it into Tim Jones kicks puppies and hates kittens, you know? And so Rod used to say, he said, I tried talking to the media. I tried not talking to the media. I tried multiple different versions. And he said, you know what I came down with? I learned that I had to talk to the media, but I needed to do everything I could to control the narrative. And one of the little tricks I learned after getting burned several times, and being frustrated by looking at something and going, I didn't say that, or I didn't say it in that way, or that's not what I meant. I learned to find a couple of reporters who I trusted.
Mhm.
And these were not necessarily people that were on my political, philosophical wavelength, but they were honest people, ladies and gentlemen. There was a specific guy and a specific lady. And what I would do is, and it drove the rest of the media, the liberal media nuts, I would go to them and I'd give them an exclusive.
Right.
I had the remarks prepared in my head. I practiced what I was going to say. I stuck to those 3 or 4 points and I got out.
Yep.
Right. And then when the bad reporters would come, well, what do you think about this Second Amendment bill? I'd say, hey, didn't you see my interview with Joe over there?
There you go.
There's my comments.
Right.
They used to hate that. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't understand what Susie Wiles thought she was going to accomplish.
11 interviews. 11.
I didn't know that. That's insane.
Yeah.
That is malpractice. She should have known better. She should have realized the trap she was walking into, because as you stated, she could have said correct statements throughout all 11 interviews. But when you pick and choose from 11 interviews and you kind of typecast things together, it could make up whatever it needs to say from the author's point of view.
And I hope she did what the press secretary on the Cruz campaign did. I hope that when the reporter was questioning her for those 11 interviews, that she had a tape recorder going as well, so that she could say, hey, this was taken out of context. Here is the full audio of what we were talking about. I don't know if she did it or not, but that's something that modern politicians do. I got to tell you, there's one reporter that I trust completely. He's always been fair with me. I trust him. I know he's not necessarily on my side, but Jason Rosenbaum with St. Louis Public Radio. I trust him completely. He's not out to get you interviews. He'll ask you tough questions, but he's not out to make you look bad. And he's one reporter that I can say I do trust.
100% agree. I still run into Jason in the hallways in Jefferson City, and we have conversations all the time off the record.
Right.
I respect him. I hope he respects me. And we've had some really good, we've had some family conversations about his family and his children. And I've told him about mine. And so, and there was who was the lady, the old battle axe who used to write for the Joe.
I definitely didn't trust her.
Well, no,
you trusted Joe Mannies?
I did.
Oh, wow.
She
must have really liked you.
There was another one. Remember the other one, the blonde lady? I did not trust her. I agree with you. Joe Mannies early in her career was really horrible. She got better.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I did have a good relationship with her, and I could go to her in limited circumstances. But there was the other one, I can't remember her name, who was horrible all the time. There's a couple writers for the Kansas City Star. They're absolutely horrible. You know, one that used to write for the Star, he left a long time ago. You'll know this name, Steve Kraske.
Oh, yeah.
He was a guy you could go to who would, he's a center left guy, but he would give you a fair shake. Yeah. That's all you want. Yeah. But again, 11 interviews with Vanity Fair. What did you think was going to happen?
And when I think back on it, Tim, you're absolutely right about Jo Mannies. She was very partisan. She worked for the Post-Dispatch. But I remember later in her career, I basically told her, look, I don't trust you. You're going to burn me on this and blah, blah. I invited her to some event and I was like, you're going to misrepresent it. You're going to misreport it. And she told me that she wouldn't, that I'm going to be fair and honest. And she did. And I think I did gain a respect for her later. Now,
in her career, yes.
When she left the Post-Dispatch and worked for some other or independent. I think she worked for St. Louis Public. Yeah, when she worked for St. Louis Public Radio.
She was with Jason for a while.
Yeah, she became kind of fair. But when she was the Post-Dispatch, I trusted her about as far as I could throw.
You are correct. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it was when she left the Post and teamed up for the latter half of her career with Jason at the local NPR affiliate. The two of them were the ones you could go to if you wanted even a chance at a fair shake.
She became trustworthy. Speaker stump speech.
We're going to talk about the fact that, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus.
And then at 5:24, we're going to speak with Alex Oliver, developer and CEO at Oliver Properties. We're going to talk about what's happening on Washington Avenue and redevelopment. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you have a tree that you think is dead, it might not be dead. Why don't you try to save it first with Roots Plus? Roots Plus can help you save your tree and keep your cash. RootsPlusLLC.com. That's RootsPlusLLC.com or 314-440-3662.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. And of course, for dessert, I get a giant chocolate chip cookie. I love Capriotti's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Renewal by Anderson asking, are you still battling cold drafts?
Windows icing up again? Utility costs surging? You're worried about paying more every month? The truth is, you may already be paying for new windows and money lost to energy escaping your home. And here's the thing. You don't want to do this project twice. Renewal by Andersen spends every day replacing bad technology, poor installation of windows and doors that simply don't stand the test of time. But you can afford the best. America's most trusted window replacement company, Andersen. Call 877-WINDOWS or visit rbastl.com. Learn about our December savings event right now. 877-WINDOWS, rbastl.com. Renewal by Andersen. Superior products, exceptional service.
Hey, Mike Ferguson here, and for nearly 40 years, Nutrition Stop has been St. Peter's trusted source for natural living. They've got a great, knowledgeable staff offering more than just products. They provide guidance on your wellness journey with exceptional service. From 100% grass-fed meats like elk and bison and local produce to quality supplements and clean household products, 4101 Mexico Road in St. Peter's, just off the interstate at Cave Springs and Highway 70.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter.
HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
And turning it into a hit piece on the administration. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the Vanity Fair article was not well done.
This is, unfortunately, another example of disingenuous reporting, where you have a reporter who took the chief of staff's words wildly out of context, did not include the context those conversations were had within.
Leavitt does say Susie Wiles is an indispensable part of the administration.
What I'll say about our chief of staff, as you've seen from not just myself, but also the entire cabinet, and a groundswell of support from people on Capitol Hill who don't even work in this building, about how incredible Susie Wiles has been to President Trump.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says he won't publicly release video of a military strike on a boat that killed survivors in the Caribbean.
Hegseth was on Capitol Hill where he told members of the House and Senate Armed Services Committee that they would be able to review the video this week. But he did not say whether all lawmakers would be allowed to see it, even as a defense policy bill demands that it be released to Congress. Hegseth and other administration officials defended the military campaign as a successful border drug mission amid ongoing questions from lawmakers about the U.S. military buildup near Venezuela. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The Trump administration is expanding its travel ban to include 5 more countries and impose new limits on others. The move Tuesday is part of ongoing efforts to tighten U.S. entry standards. On Wall Street, a mixed day as the Dow was down by 302 points, the Nasdaq rose 54, the S&P declined 16. More at Town Hall.
With Progressive, it's easy to reach customer service with our app, website, chat, or by phone. Because when getting help is hard, it's not help at all.
A little help. A little help over here.
Thank you for calling Bench Press Assistance.
What?
Due to excessive gym volume, all available spotters are currently lifting heavy weights off the chests of other bench pressers.
Seriously?
Please continue to hold, and we will remove the barbell from your chest in the order in which your cry for help was received.
Getting assistance should be easy. With Progressive, it is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The voice for the new right, charting a new path forward for American conservatism. It's the Josh Hammer Show.
What is the alternative to engaging with your political opponents? To hearing out their criticism in as happy warrior-like fashion as you can have it. The day that we replace that with, God forbid, with violence, that's how republics die. There is nothing good down that road.
The Josh Hammer Show on the Salem Podcast Network. Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
A shutdown delayed reading on unemployment reveals 2 months' worth of data. The U.S. saw 64,000 new jobs created in November, but it lost 105 in October. Economist Steve Moore
shows there's still jobs out there. 7 million job openings in the United States today. So it's still a pretty healthy jobs market for people who are looking for jobs.
The unemployment rate up.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another cool night, milder afternoon, 37 for the low, 55 Wednesday afternoon, and mostly sunny skies. A nice day and above normal by about 10 degrees. Thursday's a day of change, though. Milder in the morning in the 50s, falling into the 40s in the afternoon, then 30s by the evening. And that cold front does look to bring us some rain, mainly in the morning to around lunchtime. Dry for the rest of the afternoon and evening, but expect some wet weather for the first half of Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Complete pest protection starts with Buckingham Pest Control, your award-winning, locally owned pest control and insulation experts. Jamie Allman here, and Buckingham's experienced certified technicians arrive in fully marked vehicles ready to tackle residential or commercial pest problems, termite inspections, and even wild animal removal. Need new attic insulation? Don't miss out on year-end federal tax credits too. BuckinghamPestControl.com. That's BuckinghamPestControl.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
Don't always agree, but in love listening to your radio station. This is tyrannical stuff they're doing.
Elections have consequences. This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I hope you don't need their emergency services, but just in case, let me tell you all about Hanson's Tree Service. If something would happen over the next couple holiday weeks, you should know that you can call Hanson's anytime, 24/7. Just check out hansonstree.com on the website. Their emergency service line is right there at the top left-hand corner. You can't miss it at hansonstree.com. That's also their daily line as well. So maybe you need to just schedule something for near the end of this year or the beginning of next. Hanson's provides expert insured tree care. They've been doing it for decades. They've been doing it all over the region and beyond. A wide variety of services, including tree care itself, green resource recycling, grinding and land clearing, and so much more. At their website, you can explore all the things that Hanson's does and provides. You can order beautiful organic mulch, the Magic Bean, online. Hassle-free estimates are available 6 months, same as cash financing. You can apply for that as well, make payments, and so much more. Don't you be getting up on rickety ladders and waving chainsaws around. Get the experts at Hanson's out to your home or your business. No job too big or too small. Make sure you protect your prized assets, whether you have tree needs, shrubbery needs, or beyond. Hanson's Tree Service is your one-stop shop. They're at hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
I guess you were right, Linus. I shouldn't have picked this little tree. Everything I do turns into a disaster. I guess I really don't know what Christmas is all about. Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?
Sure, Charlie Brown. I can tell you what Christmas is all about. Lights, please. And there were in the same country shepherds, abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them. And the glory of the Lord shone round about them. And they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not. For behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. You shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host praising God, and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown.
Indeed it is. And we will be celebrating this very important high holy day in the Christian faith barely 9 days from now. The reason for the season, Chris Arps.
Tim, just think there once was upon a time that kids could watch cartoons and could hear about Jesus and the Christmas story, could learn about the Constitution and how America works, and those days are long gone.
It would be nice to rechannel some of the great things from our childhoods. It wasn't all peaches and cream back then, but we did have kind of an age of innocence and an age of just honest, good education. You're right. I mean, and in the secular side, yeah, we had all the cartoons about the bill on Capitol Hill and just learning the basics of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and why this country exists. I will say the world 2,000 plus years later it's still full of pain and horror and tragedy. But 2,000 years ago, it was a really rough place.
Exactly.
There was no golden rule. It was an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It was a very there was slavery everywhere. Like the whole world wasn't largely enslaved. You either had or you had not.
Yeah.
And then the Christ child came and it was changed forever. At least we try to be better now.
Exactly. Tim, before you move on to the Speaker's Stump Speech, a good friend of mine, she's a politico, she's a lobbyist, she has been intimately involved in politics, worked for a senator. She disagreed with our assessment of Joe Manning. She said she's listening to the show. Thank you. I wouldn't trust Joe Manning's as far as I could throw her. And that'd be hard to do with her weight. And I won't tell you why. And she said she just doesn't trust Joe Manning's.
Yeah. And I would agree. For most of Joe's career, I found that to be true. For whatever reason, I thought she got a little softer, maybe more sensible in her last few years when she joined Jason Rosenbaum at our local St. Louis NPR affiliate. And she was better. I mean, look, there wasn't a lot of good picking from in Jefferson City. It was hard to find a good objective reporter.
Exactly.
But we gave a shout out to Jason Rosenbaum. We talked about Joe Manis, and another one I thought of in the break was David Lieb, the AP reporter.
Yeah, he's been around a long time.
Yep. And asked him once, I said, David, I don't take this the wrong way. Why are you still here in Jefferson City? After most people come and go and go to other happy hunting grounds. And he's a very skillful guy. And I think he could do easily extremely well in DC or New York or LA or whatever. He said, honestly, whatever you might think about my politics, I like being here in the heartland. I'm happy here. And so I thought that was wonderful.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there a reporter, you don't have to name the names, that even if they came to you with a halo on, you would not trust them at all? They're actually like a dirt bag.
Several. Yeah. And no one will be surprised by this. They're not all there now, but they largely came from the Post-Dispatch and the Kansas City Red Star,
as we affectionately call the Post-Disgrace.
Yes, the Disgrace and the Red Star. Yes, as we affectionately call them. Chris, we're going to speak about downtown revitalization, but it's not just a talking point. This young man, Alex Oliver, I think he's a young man. I'm not really sure. We've never talked to him before. He's a developer. He's the CEO of Oliver Properties. He's going to do what many have done before. He is going to make an effort to revitalize Washington Avenue.
Needs it.
And we wish him all the best. We're going to learn what he claims he has a unique approach and that it is not government led. It's a pilot program. And if it's successful, he says it will be an amazing turnaround for that part of the city.
I hope security is part of that turnaround. I think that's the main thing, and getting a hold on these bars that were down there. Remember that bar that every weekend there was a shooting at this bar, and they got their liquor license eventually taken from them.
And ultimately, the things that we talk about all the time go hand in hand. Not only do you need businesses, but you need families down there, and that means you need education that is worth a darn, and you need safety. You have to have safety and security, and then you have to have good education, and then you have to be able to make a living. Yeah. And the city has slowly lost all of those factors over the last 7 years. Makes me sad every time I watch a big hit in my family, especially around this time of year, is Meet Me in St. Louis. And at the end of the movie, the dad says, they were going to go to New York. Okay. They were going to move to New York. He was a partner in a law firm. He was going to get a big promotion, go to New York. And the kids and the wife are really upset about this, and especially the Judy Garland character, and then the little girl who is in it as well. They're real upset. So at the end, he changes his mind, and he says at the end of the movie, we're going to stay right here. St. Louis has everything going for it. We're going to be the future of, and you know what? There was a time where all that was true in 1904.
Yeah.
And we did have that renaissance, and then we slipped back the other way over the last 50 years.
People forget this, but in the 20th century, early part of 20th century, St. Louis was the 4th largest city in the nation. That's hard for a lot of people to believe that, but St. Louis was growing, but Chicago and other areas passed them by. I always say that St. Louis should have been Chicago.
Yeah. Our climate's better.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's some things that have not changed. St. Louis is still in the middle of the country. We still have awesome waterway system that we're right in the middle of. We have all the interstate systems, a chunk of them come through St. Louis. We do have an international airport that just, if it had some help, it would be better. And so all of that still exists, and our climate is better than Chicago's. So all that still exists. We're lacking leadership from our city fathers and mothers.
And one of the biggest things that you hear that St. Louis has going for it from left, right, center is the cost of living here is just so much cheaper than other big major cities.
Continues to be really solid. All right. We'll get to Mr. Oliver and see what his hopes, dreams, and plans are for downtown St. Louis. In the meantime, the Speaker Stump Speech today played a little Linus and Charlie Brown there to kind of get you into the reason for the season. 9 days, almost less than 9 days till Christmas. And there's another reason to have hope, and that's the fact that many, no matter what age, no matter what walk of life you're from, they still do believe, as they should, there's a Santa Claus. Famous writing that I stumbled across when I was a young man. I think I was maybe 12, 13 years old. And, you know, at that age, you know, you're wondering, you're grasping, you're questioning a lot. And you're asking a lot of questions about Santa Claus. Came across this great piece that was published in 1897 that I think rings true even to today. That is the subject of today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
So, true story here, truly indeed. Editorial written in the New York Sun, inspired by a letter from 8-year-old Virginia O'Hanlon. She wrote the editor of the New York Sun in September of 1897. Here is her letter, and here is the response from the editors of the New York Sun. Dear editor, I am 8 years old. Some of my little friends say there's no Santa Claus. Papa says if you see it in the sun, it's so. Please tell me the truth. Is there a Santa Claus? Virginia O'Hanlon, 115 West 95th Street. Virginia, your little friends are wrong. They have been affected by the skepticism of a skeptical age. They do not believe except what they see. They think that nothing can be which is not comprehensible by their little minds. All minds, Virginia, whether they be men's or children's, are little. In this great universe of ours, man is a mere insect, an ant in his intellect, as compared with the boundless world about him, as measured by the intelligence capable of grasping the whole of truth and knowledge. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist, and you know that they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy. Alas, how dreary would the world be if there were no Santa Claus? It would be as dreary as if there were no Virginias. There would be no childlike faith then, no poetry, no romance to make tolerable this existence. We should have no enjoyment except in sense and sight. The eternal light with which childhood fills the world would be extinguished. Not believe in Santa Claus. You might as well not believe in fairies. You might get your papa to hire men to watch in all the chimneys on Christmas Eve to catch Santa Claus. But even if they did not see him coming down, what would that prove? Nobody sees Santa Claus, but that is no sign that there is no Santa Claus. The most real things in the world are those that neither children nor men can see. Did you ever see fairies dancing on the lawn? Of course not. That's no proof they're not there. Nobody can convince or imagine all the wonders there are unseen and unseeable in the world. You may tear apart the baby's rattle and see what makes the noise inside, but there is a veil covering the unseen world, which not the strongest man, nor even the united strength of all the strongest men that ever lived, could tear apart. Only faith, fancy, poetry, love, romance can push aside that curtain and view and picture the supernal beauty and glory behind. Is it all real? Ah, Virginia, in all this world, there is nothing else real and abiding. No Santa Claus. Thank God he lives, and he lives forever. 1,000 years from now, Virginia, nay, 10 times 10,000 years from now, he will continue to make glad the heart of childhood. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. Francis Pharcellus Church, New York Sun, September 21st, 1897.
It's amazing that letter to the newspaper by an innocent, naive little girl, and I don't mean naive in a bad way, has made her immortal 130 years later.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger, there were actually maybe they still run them. There was little specials where they made a cartoon out of this, and they made little characters, and they had a little backstory. They told Virginia's backstory, and then that was near the end, and it was published. So many. If you look online, that has been read by a bazillion different people, famous, not famous. It's on a lot of TikTok and blog posts, and it's a neat little thing. There's definitely a spiritual aspect to a lot of that, and I think it tells all of us to believe, to dare to believe.
Until you started reading, I had no idea that it was a letter to the editor. I thought it was just a famous saying that people said, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus, whenever kids started doubting it. I never knew there was a backstory to it.
That was when there was a good paper in New York. Yeah.
Exactly.
The old New York Sun. Yeah. Well, the Post is still pretty
New York
good.
Post, yeah.
Yeah, the Post is still good, indeed. All right, Chris, it's 5:20 in the p.m. We're going to talk about whether or not there's hope for downtown St. Louis. Speaking of hope, speaking of believing, speaking of wanting to believe, we're going to talk to Alex Oliver, developer and CEO of Oliver Properties. People are skeptical when they hear downtown St. Louis may turn around, but Alex Oliver has proof of what's happening on Washington Avenue. He'll explain all the hows and whys next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Do you know what I know?
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
Do you know what I know?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another cool night, milder afternoon, 37 for the low, 55 Wednesday afternoon, and mostly sunny skies. A nice day and above normal by about 10 degrees. Thursday's a day of change, though. Milder in the morning in the 50s, falling into the 40s in the afternoon, then 30s by the evening. And that cold front does look to bring us some rain, mainly in the morning to around lunchtime. Dry for the rest of the afternoon and evening, but expect some wet weather for the first half of Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere.
2 Corinthians says, be an ambassador for Christ. That's where they got the name, the motto from. Ambassador Plumbing, been in business since 2018. Wonderful family-owned, independently owned business. Hope you don't have an emergency situation, but it's always good to know where to call if you need a great plumber. Tim Morris, master plumber, 25 plus years of experience, created this awesome family business nearly 8 years ago. His wonderful wife, Austina, keeps all the trains running on time in the office, and many of the folks that work for them are family or close family friends. If water runs to it or through it, Ambassador Plumbing, yep, they do it. Go to ambassadorplumbing.com, and you can see everything that they offer. Everything from service work, new construction. If you just have a leaky faucet that's been driving you nuts, or a toilet that won't stop running, where it's like it's quiet and then like the toilet runs and then it stops again, have Ambassador Plumbing come out. No job too big or too small. Maybe you have a wholesale bathroom renovation or a couple for the new year. They can handle that as well. Seriously, if water runs to it or through it, they absolutely do it. I want to thank Ambassador Plumbing for being one of our newer advertisers this year. I hope they're with us for many years ahead. I know that on behalf of them, they would want me to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And remember, if water runs to it or through it, Ambassador Plumbing, yep, they do it. AmbassadorPlumbing.com, AmbassadorPlumbing.com.
Hey, how you doing? Santa Vic here.
And Santa's head, Vic head, here.
Right. And you can win some great prizes with News Talk STL's St. Louis Conservative Christmas.
You forgot the ho, ho, ho.
What?
You forgot the ho, ho, ho.
Oh!
No, ho, ho.
Oh!
Log on to newstalkstl.com for your chance to win great prizes from Havana 1961 Restaurant, Trolley Stop Bakery, and Whistle Pig Outdoors. newstalkstl.com.
Oh!
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Number 1 for live and local
conservative talk.
I've been a registered Democrat for 28 years. I'm really glad you're talking about this.
You gotta love these idiots out here. They think we're all stupid, I guess.
news, analysis, opinion.
Totally agree on that.
I disagree with you.
It's over.
Very upset.
Thanks for taking my call. Thanks for taking my call. Thank you for taking my call. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Wanted to ask you really quick. Is there room on the bandwagon for me?
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Like Christmas, everywhere you go. Take a look in the 5 and 10. Listening once again. With candy canes and silver lanes aglow.
These boats carry not fentanyl. I mean, they carry cocaine and these routes mostly take drugs to Europe and Western Africa. These operations are not making us more safe.
That's Senator Mark Kelly, Chris, saying just let the narco terrorists run ragged, and if you just leave them alone, then they'll be fine. And if you arrest them, it won't make us safer.
They're just trying to
blow them up.
They're just trying to feed their families, Tim.
That's
what they'll say. Joey is really, really getting me into the Christmas spirit with all this Christmas music, even though it's 60 degrees outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went from 10 degrees to 55 this afternoon. That's Missouri, right? And Chris, it would be almost like saying, well, forget about all the gangbangers, the drug runners, and the people shooting at each other in downtown St. Louis. If you arrest them or you do anything law and order wise to them, that won't make any difference.
Yeah, they're low on the totem pole.
Yeah.
We should be going after the big narco bosses. That's one of the excuses that I've heard too. These are they're just drug carriers. They're not the big guys.
Yes, we're going to talk to a fella about who is trying to do everything he can to help revitalize St. Louis. Before we get to him, 2 quick announcements. Go to newstalkstl.com and check out all the details for our conservative Christmas stocking stuffer contest. You can win some great prizes. You can win a ton of prizes from a plethora of our advertisers. And secondly, our canned food drive goes through next Monday because STL Windows and Doors has added an extra bonus day to it. If you want all the details on all the drop-off locations, in addition to the STL Windows and Doors pickup opportunity they're providing, all of that is at newstalkstl.com. Without further ado, let's bring in Alex Oliver, developer, CEO at Oliver Properties. Alex, good afternoon. Welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here at News Talk STL.
Great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome.
So, Alex, tell us why you've decided to get engaged into doing everything you can to revitalize and redevelop a significant portion of downtown St. Louis, the famous Washington Avenue.
Yeah, for us, it was really an opportunistic play. We've been investing in multifamily projects and retail projects throughout St. Louis City for the last almost 17 years now. And about 3 years ago, started looking at, where was the next opportunity to pivot, and really saw what we liked about Wash Ave. So there's already been a ton of these buildings have been converted to apartments and condos and ground floor retail, but they've really kind of fallen into disrepair over the last 20 years since a lot of this was done in the early 2000s. And then you combined it with sort of, some bad policy and bad politics that led to, a lot of dysfunction downtown right in 2020, 2021, there in that COVID era. And so we saw this really as an opportunity to step in with great buildings with great bones that we could drive strong operations, strong retail leasing, and strong activation, and quickly turn, a pretty large, 8 to 10 block stretch along Wash Ave.
Alex, my former boss, Jim Talent, when he started in the Senate back in 2003, and this program just started, the new market tax credits. He was a big proponent of urban renewal. I'm just curious, and also the hotel that was redeveloped across from the Dome was with news with new market tax credits. I went down there for the grand opening for it, representing the senator. Is that program still viable? Are people still using new market tax credits for development, especially in blighted kind of downtown areas?
I think there are some people using it. That's not really our model. Most of that needs to be tied, as you mentioned, like to a hotel or to an office building where there's a lot of employees, like corporate employees. So it ties more to business redevelopment. So office buildings, hotel buildings. Ours are mostly apartments, and then we have retail spaces on the ground floor. So we don't have the large density of employees. That really is where you can utilize new market credits, at least as I understand.
Alex, give us some more specificity about your current plans at Oliver Properties regarding Washington Avenue. What are you focused on in 2026 and the near term?
So a lot of our near-term focus is executing the plan. So we started investing downtown in almost exactly 2 years ago. It was the week of Thanksgiving, 2023. We initially focused on some of the most distressed properties right along Washington Avenue, like 10th and 11th Street. 2024, we were able to get those turned around. This past year, we found that they were really getting great leasing demand. So our retail leasing was picking up. Our residential apartments were getting up to 95% occupancy with tons of leasing activity. So as we headed into this past year, we ended up buying like 7 properties along Wash Ave from like April through November. So we've picked up a lot of projects that we now need to complete the renovations, complete the turnaround, complete the leasing activity on. And then we're also getting our food hall. So we've got the Wash Ave food hall that we've started construction on, and we're planning on getting that opened late spring, early summer next year, which will be, 6 different food vendors, 2 bars. It'll have an outdoor patio space right in the 1100 block of Washington Avenue.
Alex, I remember about 10 or 15 years ago, there was a big loft building boom in downtown St. Louis. I remember the old St. Louis Board of Public Education became lofts. I've attended a fundraiser at the old shirt factory loft. Are these the type of properties that you're talking about, turning these into lofts, or what's the plan?
Yeah, so almost all the buildings we've acquired were already converted.
Okay.
So they were buildings that in 2002 to 2000, probably the newest one we got was like 2015. So in that kind of 10 to 12 year time span, they were taking, as they were mentioning, these old textile manufacturing, distribution, historic warehouse buildings, and converting them to loft style apartments. A lot of them, again, just were not reinvested in the 15 years since or 20 years since they were originally done. And a lot of them also weren't done with the modern amenities that residents are looking for today. So they started getting into disrepair, deferred maintenance, not having good amenities, not having good community space. So we're reinvigorating the community space, intentionally driving strong retail, and improving these now dated interiors so we can add to the occupancy and the density and stabilize the property. So we primarily don't do heavy gut rehabs. And that's the other thing we like about where we're at on Washington Avenue. Almost all these projects were already done for existing buildings. So that's why the turnaround is able to happen so much quicker in this pocket that we're focusing on, because we've acquired, in basically 24 months, almost 600 apartments along Wash Ave between 10th and 18th Street, about 90,000 square feet of retail, and we've actually picked up a small office building as well.
Speaking with Alex Oliver, CEO at Oliver Properties. So, Alex, what are you seeing from all this activity, and are you seeing a population return it's great to do all this redevelopment, but you got to have bodies, right, to support it all. So are you seeing people taking note of all this? Are people starting to have interest in this? Do we have people moving back downtown? Tell us about what's going on, tell us about the after effects of what's happening because of all this that you're doing.
Yeah, so like I said, we've acquired about 600 apartments. On average, those buildings were around 60% occupied. So you put that into math, that's 360 occupied units, 240 vacant units. We're now well over 90% occupied. So net just in our portfolio, we've grown that occupancy by a couple hundred residents. As we're turning these properties around, we're also getting people that are coming in with very strong jobs and high income. So there's more income and more disposable income moving into the neighborhood. So they're frequenting the restaurateurs and bars and shops and everything that's along Wash Ave. So that's where we kind of seen this compounding effect is the vacant units are getting filled. They're getting filled with people with more disposable income, which then activates the street. We're getting rid of the problematic people. There's, less crime and less issues like that. That in a lot of cases were coming out of the buildings that the last owners and last managers weren't screening, weren't doing background checks, weren't ensuring the buildings were secure and safe. And so they were letting problematic people come into their properties, and we've got a different management philosophy. So we keep the building clean, secure, tight, so it's a safe place to live.
Alex, adding the retail space seems to be the anchor here that's attracting people to these developments. Talk about the philosophy of that and what type of retail establishments are you looking for your buildings, or what are you seeing?
Yeah, so, there's a lot of great buildings all throughout St. Louis. So if you're just picking an apartment that's a box, there's a million places to choose. So if you're looking for why are you living in an 8-story building in downtown St. Louis, it's because of the walkability. I can go outside the 4 walls of my building and have bars, have restaurants, have shops. So it's a lot of food and beverage because that's really, we serve much more a younger crowd, mid to late 20s, kind of, before you're married and have kids and a dog and a boat and, want a house in the suburbs. This is people that are looking for a very walkable urban experience. So a lot of food and beverage. So bars, restaurants. That's why we're doing the food hall development this coming year.
And Alex, my understanding from the notes that we received about your projects is that this is not a government-led thing. This is the private sector, and you're all kind of putting your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah, and you mean earlier you guys had brought up, the new market tax credits. We don't use any of that. Hardly any of our projects have any abatements. We don't use any of that. So this is very market-driven. So we have bank debt, and we go out and get construction loans, and we partner up with other people that are investing in deals with us, and we're just turning the buildings around. So that's I think something we're really proud of is, this didn't come from a high level of incentive dollars and things like that sort of forced the deals to work. These deals work and the math makes sense, which is why I've been pretty excited to keep growing down here.
Alex, you answered part of my question in your last answer, but I was wondering, your tenants, are these younger families that are just starting out, or are these retired people or people that are close to retirement but have means? Or is it a mix of people?
It's a pretty big mix. Honestly, our resident diversity is the highest I've seen in almost any neighborhood we've managed in St. Louis. So we get young professionals. I have a lot of people that work at Boeing. We get people that have startups. We actually have a few people that are Arch Grant winners that have startup companies that live in our properties. We have some that, as you mentioned, more like empty nesters or retirees. The majority fall into that younger crowd, again, kind of having a family and looking for more space and more of that kind of suburban life, I guess. They're looking for more of that young, walkable, urban experience. Definitely trends younger, but is a very diverse background.
And are they buying these properties, or are they renting them from you?
So ours are all rental properties.
Okay.
So we really aren't doing condo development. We've actually acquired a couple distressed condo buildings. That part of what I think led to some of the stress down here is there was, I think, about 4 different condo developments that came online in 2008, 2009, kind of right as the housing market crash was hitting. And that sort of exacerbated some of the distress in downtown, was having 4 buildings that basically, the lender took back the majority of the condos. And then you kind of end up in this weird, fractional condo ownership structure. So we're kind of, fixing the structure that's existing in a couple of those properties.
Folks, you can check out Oliver Properties at opstl.com. Some beautiful photographs and concepts on there, opstl.com. Alex, you made reference to this earlier. As you're taking care of these distressed properties, reducing the high vacancy rates, this is kind of this kind of reminds me of the broken windows theory, right? You clean up the place, you remove the broken windows, you remove a lot of the bad stuff around it, and I think I think you're seeing that elements of crime are receding, and that the neighborhoods are getting safer, right? As you're doing all this positive development.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the mantra we've kind of said is, the vacancy that exists is a symptom. It's not the cause. So the vacancy, when you see high vacancies in these apartment buildings, they're a symptom of there's poor management or poor security, and the building's not being well maintained, and the neighborhood's not being well maintained. As we've seen our vacancy decline, so more and more people living in the property, it's because we've taken away the deterrents that make people not want to be there.
And Tim kind of touched upon the question that I was going to ask. The big elephant in the room here is, of course, crime in St. Louis. What is your selling point to a young family or a guy that, as you said, doesn't want the big house in the suburbs yet, just starting out, that said, yes, I'd love to live downtown. I'd love to be able to be in walking distance to things and not have to use my car. But the crime, what's your selling point for them when they say that?
I think the selling point is that there's it's very much a perception issue, because anytime someone brings up the crime, I'm like, okay, well, talk to me about it. What is that crime? I live downtown. I live on Wash Ave. My company's office is downtown on Wash Ave. In our apartments, we have 600 residents that live on Wash Ave, and we're not running fearful for our lives. I'm actually standing on Wash Ave right now while I talk to you guys. Like, it's incredibly safe. It's a very walkable neighborhood. We have some homeless people, but that's not crime. So it's an incredibly safe, walkable neighborhood that I live, my wife lives, our company is, and 600 of our residents are on a daily basis, and we're all really enjoying it.
Are you seeing a visible police preference or presence?
So it's interesting. So I think when it comes from a police standpoint or maybe a security standpoint, I think downtown is honestly one of the highest level of security neighborhoods in the city. We've got the police department, we've got the bike patrol, the downtown CID has private security, GSL has an ambassador program, almost every office building and apartment building has private security. There's an abundance of people with security badges and, quite honestly, guns that are walking around and in cars and in vehicles. It's an incredibly densely patrolled neighborhood, and honestly, I pay quite high taxes in exchange for that. But there's the private services that are also bringing in, private security as well as supplementing the police department.
Alex, is all this investment and work that you're doing, is it encouraging other developers? Are we seeing a lot of competition popping up here? Are we seeing more people coming to the party?
Competition for our style hasn't really picked up yet. Again, we're taking on distressed existing properties, but it has been really exciting. In the last, I think even just 90 days, Mansion House was announced, which is, basically a gut rehab of a 400-unit building downtown. There's a mid-sized developer, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, Blackline Development is doing a big project, about 70 apartments just around the corner from one of our buildings. An out-of-town group bought a foreclosed multifamily building and is investing a lot of capital in it. So I would say this fall, I've really seen 3, 4, maybe 5 projects that people are saying, yeah, we're seeing that it's fixable, we're seeing that it can be turned, and we're seeing that there's a market for demand for these apartments when they're renovated and fixed up and improved the right way.
So if there's a young couple or young man or young woman that's listening to the show right now and they are interested in acquiring, moving into one of your properties, what do they need to do?
Yeah, so, OPSTL, that's our corporate website, Oliver Properties St. Louis, OPSTL. And then each of our buildings is listed. The easiest way is usually on apartments.com, but we've got Six Chord Apartments, we've got Bogan Apartments, we've got Ventana Apartments. People can find each of those buildings online when they're looking for loft apartments on Wash Ave. You'll find pretty much every property we've got available.
Fantastic. Alex Oliver, CEO of Oliver Properties, OPSTL.com. Alex, thanks for everything you're doing in downtown St. Louis.
Thank you, Alex.
Well, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the time.
You as well. Well, Chris, if the government leaders are going to continue to fail us, maybe the private sector can save St. Louis from itself.
I have a childhood friend that I've known ever since 5th grade. She is a psychoanalyst. She lives in a loft down on Washington Avenue, and she absolutely loves it. She's always taking pictures of on top of the loft with her dog. She's taking pictures outside of it, and she always uses the hashtag city living. I love it. And she grew up out in the county with me.
Oh,
so she's not a city girl. She's a county girl, but she absolutely loves Washington Avenue.
I have at least two friends from high school. One who has been in South St. Louis almost his entire life, except for a brief stint when they moved to Minnesota for a corporate relocation. Another friend from North County who moved into South St. Louis. They love it too, and they're in the Francis Park area, down by St. Gabriel's.
Yeah,
and people forget that areas of St. Louis like that still exist, and the homes there are on the market for about 36 hours.
Yeah.
And so the city is not lost; it just needs to be reconstructed and reattached.
And I had another friend. He sold his loft on Washington Avenue because this thing was beautiful. He put all type of money into it. It looked like something out of Better Homes and Gardens. Seriously, it was decorated very, very nice. And somebody just made him an offer on it that he couldn't refuse and was like, all right, I'll sell it. So I've been in some of those lofts. They are absolutely beautiful. And I wish Alex all of the luck in the world, because Washington Avenue is a gem for St. Louis. And I'd love to see it continue to grow and prosper.
That's the way it works. Check out OPSTL. Beautiful photos on here of actual buildings in the city of St. Louis that you may have not have realized exist. OPSTL.com. I want to thank Mark Sutherland for sending Alex Oliver our way. Whew, 5:44 in the PM. We have one final segment left. I wrote down here, we're going to talk about Joe Biden's library.
Yeah, Joe's having a little difficulty raising funds, Tim, and we're going to talk about that and why.
Sell a Hunter Biden painting. We're going to figure all that out when we come back on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like Christmas. Soon the bells will start.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
Carol that you sing right within your heart.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Another cool night, milder afternoon, 37 for the low, 55 Wednesday afternoon, and mostly sunny skies. A nice day and above normal by about 10 degrees. Thursday's a day of change, though. Milder in the morning in the 50s, falling into the 40s in the afternoon, then 30s by the evening. And that cold front does look to bring us some rain, mainly in the morning to around lunchtime. Dry for the rest of the afternoon and evening, but expect some wet weather for the first half of Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
We love to thank our great advertisers, especially at this time of the year, for helping keep good conservative radio on the air. And I want to thank St. Louis Windows and Doors for keeping us on the air and advertising. We had one of their co-owners, Dan Jaycox, on the show last week. We talked about their new service that they're offering, STL Windows and Doors window cleaning, an absolutely fabulous service. And with the holidays right around the corner, family, friends, and lots of time spent at home, sparkling windows may be on your to-do list for your celebrations. You should give them. Let me give you a personal recommendation. My wife and I, last summer, we had our windows cleaned by STL Windows and Doors, new window cleaning service. The results were incredible. The windows 4 months later are still sparkling clean. This isn't your average spray and wipe job. They use high filtered, ultra pure water that removes minerals and crystal clear streak-free windows. And right now is the perfect time, especially with this great weather we're having. STL Windows and Doors has limited holiday cleaning openings available, but they're filling up fast. Whether you're getting ready for guests, holiday photos, or just want to have a clear view all season, they've got you covered. Request your free quote now to lock in your spot. They clean residential and commercial windows up to 2 stories, usually in 4 to 6 hours. And they also clean and inspect your screens. They'll even rescreen it if needed. Plus, most homeowners, they get on a twice-a-year schedule to keep those windows looking brand new year-round. And remember, they're still the trusted family-owned team for new window and door installations right here in St. Louis. Give them a call today. Get your windows cleaned. 314-277-5952 or visit stlwindowsanddoors.com, stlwindowsanddoors.com. STL Windows and Doors, making St. Louis homes sparkle this holiday season and all year long.
Well, what is
is it?
Well, it's a radio. It was indeed a radio. The entire neighborhood was turned on. The news, analysis, and opinion poured over me like a warm glass of Ovaltine.
We triple dog dare you to have a Merry Christmas. From Ruthie's Family Restaurant, Williams Brothers Meats, Gulf Shores Restaurant, Food Truck and Catering, and News Talk STL.
What was that? My radio!
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose. And if you ever saw it, you would even think it glows.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
The reindeer used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games.
Hunter Biden has been disbarred in Connecticut after admitting to attorney misconduct. It's part of a deal with the state's lawyer discipline office linked to his gun and tax cases from last year. At a virtual hearing, Judge Patrick Carroll stripped him of his license to practice law there. Carroll ruled that Biden violated Connecticut's rules on honesty, including fraud, deceit, and misrepresentation. He also cited Biden's recent disbarment in Washington, D.C. One complainant, Paul Dorsey, pushed back during the hearing, arguing Biden shouldn't escape without admitting criminal wrongdoing. Biden didn't deny the ethical violations, but insisted no crime was involved. This ends a law career that began in 1997, shortly after graduating from Yale Law School.
5:49 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering what the hell took so long for Hunter Biden to lose his law license. I got to tell you, Tim, as someone who has a law license, and you know just everything that you had to do to get that law license, for studying to the bar to just all-nighter studying for 3 years practically. It's always just amazing to me that people would put themselves in a position to lose their law license because of what you had to go through to get it. My God, you would cherish that almost like your children, all the pain, sweat, and toil that you had to go through to get a law license, and then to be disbarred and lose it was just, I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's and the legal profession is supposed to be self-policing, and we're supposed to, watch out for each other, take care of our own. It's also tough sometimes. The fine line comes in when, on one hand, you are supposed to, as an attorney, zealously represent your clients, but on the other hand, there's certain things that you're not supposed to do. So it's kind of like, okay, how do I remain on that razor's edge?
Right.
But there are some obvious things that you don't do that would absolutely always land you in hot water and put you in danger of losing your credentials.
You mean, for example, smoking crack and hiding a gun in a dumpster next to a school? Could that and trying to write off hookers on your tax returns as a business expense? Could that make you lose your law license?
That would do it. Those are pretty obvious examples. Although, Chris, we see people do that, don't we?
Yeah.
Some with very high-profile last names. You're also not supposed to steal clients' funds, embezzle. I mean, there's some obvious things. And most in the profession, right? Just there's bad apples in every profession. And when there is one of these very public cases, it makes it look like the whole profession is tainted, which is never usually the case.
We saw that with Mayor Freeman Bosley, former Mayor Freeman Bosley. He did acquire his law license back, but I didn't know this until his case came to light, is that when you are representing clients, their money is that you've won for them is supposed to go into a special account, and you can't touch it. You can't do anything with it. And he unfortunately was dipping into clients' money to help pay his personal bills and things of that nature. So legal profession is a very regulated business, which is as it should. You sometimes hold people's lives in your hand financially and their literal life. And so you should be held to a higher standard than most people, especially when you're dealing with serious issues like that.
I absolutely agree. And, I know most attorneys, the supermajority, do try to live by that code and creed every single day.
Well, former President Joe Biden, who's also an attorney, Tim, he's having a little trouble raising money for his presidential library. He has only raised a small fraction of the money needed to construct the presidential library, leaving uncertainty about when a library might be built and its viability as a standalone project. I've had the fortune of fortunate to have gone to 7 or 8 presidential libraries from Democrat to Republican presidents. They are great edifices to the president. These things aren't cheap. They cost a lot of money. I think President Obama is building a presidential library in Chicago, and I think it's going to be the most expensive.
That seems like that's taking forever.
Yeah, it is, because he's probably raising a gazumba amount of money, and it's probably going to take up 5 or 6 city blocks or something. But these things are not cheap. They cost a lot of money. You need donors to pitch into that, because the federal government does not help presidents build their libraries. They do take care of them once it's built. They're responsible for them, but the government does not pitch in. Joe Biden, unfortunately, pissed off a lot of his donors, and that's why people are speculating he is not getting money for this project. John Morgan, he's a longtime Democratic donor who was a top high Biden bumbler, said, quote, "I won't give a penny to the library." He cited his poor treatment from the Biden staff. John Morgan said he'll be lucky to have a bookmobile. So, wow, that's pretty telling. An idea that's under serious discussion, and you don't see this anywhere else, merging the presidential library with a planned Biden Hall for the University of Delaware's Joseph R. Biden Jr. School of Public Policy and Administration, the Biden School in Newark, Delaware. Biden graduated from the ceremony. So they're thinking about, just because they can't raise the money, they already have a Biden Hall, just add the library there. Now, there is precedence for that to a certain extent.
Yes.
When I went to University of Michigan, Gerald R. Ford's presidential library is on the campus of the University of Michigan. Of course, that's where he went, but that's where his presidential papers are being kept. They call it a presidential library, but the actual museum is in his hometown of Grand Rapids, Michigan. So that's where you see all of the personal memorabilia stuff. But the presidential papers are at the university. So
there's different ways to do this.
Yeah, but this is a really cheesy way of doing it. No one else has. Okay, you've got a building here. We'll just throw
slap your name on it.
We'll slap your name on it. We'll put some of your presidential papers on there, and it'll be the Joseph Biden School, and it's your presidential library too. So.
Yeah. Well, it is Joe Biden.
It is Joe Biden. He probably doesn't remember anyway, or really cares for that matter. You guys remember the story a couple of weeks ago or last week about the raccoon that broke into the liquor store?
Yes.
And
imbibed.
Apparently got trashed, and they came into the store next morning. The thing was like passed out. So Trash Panda merchandise is commemorating the drunk raccoon that recently tore through a Richmond era liquor store. It has raised $180,000 for the animal shelter and helped sober him up, according to this. They've been selling stickers and tumblers, travel mugs, tees, and hoodies from about $5 to $42. Proceeds from Trash Panda merchandise benefit the Hanover County Animal Protection and Shelter and its animal care and officer program. So who would have ever thought that a raccoon breaking into a liquor store, getting drunk, can do so much good, help the homeless, and help people with substance.
Create a new industry.
People.
That's really wonderful. It's heartwarming.
One thing we know that David Ellison, of course, with Sundance, they own Paramount. They are trying to buy CNN. Who owns CNN, Joey?
He's with Skydance, and they're trying to buy Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers does not want to sell to him. They're actually taking less money than what David Ellison is offering, partly because David Ellison and his son are supporters of President Trump. David Ellison has offered assurances to the Trump administration that if he bought Warner, Tim, he'd make sweeping changes to CNN. So I think that is a feather in his cap there. He will revamp CNN. He is already revamping CBS. Would you have ever thought before he bought CBS that CBS would do a town hall with Erica Kirk?
No kidding. When I saw that, I thought it was a typo. And we're now seeing MSNBC completely revamped and changing. I mean, Chris, if we can change this giant cacophony of left-wing liberal talking points every day, and if there's just not as much, it will really change people's thoughts and attitudes in America for the better.
And Erica Kirk and Candace Owens had a sit down.
Saw that
yesterday, a 4-hour sit down. Do you expect a detente between these two? I hope so. And Erica Kirk's not the one that started. It's Candace Owen with her nut job conspiracy theories. I hope that she can get her to be quiet.
Candace put out a very nice tweet today, but there was elements of still it's all about her.
Yeah.
There's a lot of references to me, but she did put out a very nice tweet, and just enough with the drama. Especially, can you leave Erica Kirk alone?
Exactly.
You know?
Get out of her mix. Did you love Charlie Kirk? Did you? Are you? A lot of people are speculating she's upset because he chose Erica over her.
Oh,
I don't
boy.
know. It's
wow,
absolutely bizarre. All right, great show today. Up next, Larry Connors USA at 6, and he's going to have the story of the day. Very, very interesting as always. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere. And we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery in St. Peter's, St. Charles, Lake St. Louis on Pond Fort Trail, and the original Stefanina's in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway.